All right, Doug, welcome to the podcast. How you doing? How you doing this morning?
Doing great, Alex. Thanks for having me.
I'm delighted to get you on. As I like to start like every episode, do you want to kick us off by telling us, a bit about yourself, how you got to where you are today, and what you're doing?
Yeah. All right. So I was a valet. I think we were just talking about athletics. I do think athletics ties into the sport of valet. I do consider it a sport. I put that in my manual. It's actually one of the questions on our application. Have you played organized sports before? Because I feel like the two correlate very good. But so I have a little bit of an athletic background. I think that helped me get like into valet in terms of like liking it, liking
Yeah,
valet. I feel like there's a lot of guys like that. I worked for a valet. I worked for a restaurant. Full disclosure, I actually had gotten in trouble and I went to jail.
oh
And
wow.
yeah, I'll just put it out there. I sold marijuana, which was illegal at the time in New Jersey.
Yeah,
And I got in trouble for it. It was like stupid young college stuff. But I was going down the wrong path, whatever. And I came back around two after I was getting in all this trouble. I was in a school zone and all this. Um, they dumped me off in an area that was more southern from where grew up, where I was from. So I'm from Middlesex County. They dumped me off in Trenton when
yeah,
they to a halfway house. And I found this job at this restaurant in Trenton that's by all the politicalities in Trenton. There's not much in Trenton, but there's still the state capital. It's like a rundown.
yeah.
And I found this job at Pete Lorenzo's Cafe, which was pretty prestigious, and I got the job as a valet, and I ended up being the valet there every single day, and it kind of turned my life around. So valet had like a kind of a special place for me because it got me around a whole different arena of people, especially like some of the people that I was parking their cars, they ended up in Obama's cabinet, and
Oh
like
wow.
Lisa Jackson, she was the environmental lady. She was like this, and I knew her, and a bunch of them too. So it's pretty cool. So I got to Christine Todd Whitman, former governor. I know I parked her car there. But anyway, not only that, but I got free food. I was working on parking the cars. I would shine the rims when they were inside and they come out.
Yeah,
I started doing full details when the people were inside the restaurant. They're coming out. I just was all about the experience. That restaurant was closing down. It was going downhill, and I ended up
yeah,
getting a job with a valet parking company, and he immediately made me a manager, but it was not a good company, and I ran the company, but he wasn't paying me, and the best that he
yeah,
did was give me good shifts that paid a lot of that I could make a lot of tips at, but he would put me at the places that needed management, not the places where I could make money. I got frustrated, and I told him, I was like, listen, I want to take the next step, because I was really good, and I was like, let me open up accounts for you, and and then we can go like halves on them, and we can keep expanding. And he basically belittled me, like I figured he was going to, but I gave him a shot because I didn't want to just
yeah,
um, you know, and then basically he sent me to a place, and I told them that the guy that sent me is a douchebag, and that they should let me do the valet for them. And
yeah.
this is Black Bass Hotel in Lumberville, and the man is Grant Ross, who gave me my shot. He's a Scottish man, big, tall, brolic Scottish man with an accent, a
Yeah,
tough
yeah,
tough bloke, a rugby player. He gave me a cut rate discount, which I took, and he grandfathered that rate for a very long time. Um, but then that was the start that I got, and I pretty much bought a lot of the valet to Bucks County. There wasn't too much valet around Bucks County at the time. This is in PA, right across the river.
yeah,
And I expanded from there, one account at a time. When I still lived in Trenton at the time, which is not a great place to live, and my starting crew was a couple of guys that lived on the block with me, and that's who I started the company with in terms of workers. But I just went from there. Now we have 40. We have over 50 accounts that we operate regularly at, and have close to 200 valets active, and valets all over Buck County and Mercer County where we operate, and we stretched it to Allentown to New Brunswick. So I got a lot of people involved also along the way.
Man, that's unbelievable. I mean, there is so much to unpack there. Like it's quite the story. I mean, it's an unbelievable story, and I guess are you still working with the Scottish? What did you call it? Like, what was the name of the hotel again? You call it?
It's the Black Bass Hotel.
The Black Bass. In my head, I heard something else. But like when I hear the Black Bass Hotel, like you're still working with that guy today.
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome. I mean, man, like what a success story. I
Yeah.
mean, I was going to put it out there. I mean, you've got over 200 active valets right now, more than 50 accounts. That's what 1.5, 2 locations on average per account. So like, whoa, I mean, like you're really, really, really like, turn this into something. And how long have you been doing it? Like I was like a quick little view of your link. I look at people's LinkedIn's and I kind of go, they could have been noodling on that for a while, but like, how long have you been doing it now?
So that was 2009 that I started. So here we are. It's almost 15 years.
I mean, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And like, I guess, you've lived like an extraordinary life, and I mean, it is extraordinary, you know what I mean, in that sense. And like, that whole experience, like taught you so much humility, like to come back out and like to go be a valet, to, realize in yourself that like hospitality is like innate inside of you. You know what I mean? So like, in terms of your operation now, I'm curious, what have you learned from that experience for yourself that you apply or that you make part of like sort of the culture in the organization today?
Yeah. So humility is a great word. Sometimes I have to remind that I feel like valets are treated often like the lowest men on the totem pole, and I'm cool with it. It's a humility thing. Sometimes you get these people that you're parking their cars and they're very pompous and they're very they'll be snobbish. Now sometimes you get people that are very wealthy and very grounded and very wholesome. But you get people that will, and how you take that or not let that affect you, I think is a testament to our character. And I don't, I really am strong in that area of not getting offended by that type of treatment. And I tell the guys to join me in that, because they don't know what, they don't know what we do. And the people that show appreciation for what we do make up for it. But the whole jail thing, for me really changed my life in terms of making me appreciate the basics that we take for granted in life. And I feel like that was a good attitude adjustment for my journey, and that enabled my success. And I can't stress that enough, because I could see a lot of the tendencies of my old self in a lot of people, and then going through that experience of getting in trouble and stuff like that, and having basic rights taken away, now appreciating basic rights and operating from a place of gratitude is very essential, I feel like, in anybody's success journey.
I mean, it's amazing. And I think like, like you're like an unbelievable success of like what like people would hope that the system would produce, after like, being incarcerated, that you come back and look what a success you've made yourself. And I obviously imagine it was incredibly tough, and there were obviously dark days in the aftermath, obviously. But like, I guess like, it sounds to me like hospitality like saved you, like it saved your life, which
it did. It really did. And that's why I valeted last night. Not a lot. I picked up a shift that nobody was picking up last night, and I had a great shift. I made over $200 in a little over 5 hours. Nobody wanted the shift. Like I said, I have a deep appreciation. I literally think valet saved my life. The main thing that it did for me, I feel like, was it brought me out of the arena of people that I was in, and the people that I was surrounded with, put me in a totally different arena. And I got acclimated with these folks, and I got comfortable around these folks. And good at talking to different people from, high business places, because where the restaurants that with valet, you're gonna regularly run into people that are at the top of their organization. So
Yeah.
anybody that is, considering valet, or even if it's like a pit stop on your life when you're going to school and you're gonna have a career, like valet is a supreme networking
Yeah.
junction. Supreme that you're going to be in these gentlemen's cars and these people's cars. That's a very intimate thing to pull up to
Yeah.
an establishment and give your car to a stranger is a very intimate process. And the bond that you can form, when you get good at valet, you understand that in the back of your head, and then you're going to be extra gracious, extra
Yeah.
um, polite in mannerisms, and you're going to have good demeanor and everything, because you got to sell this person and the confidence of them letting you take their car.
Yeah.
That's important.
And on that, like when you're looking to like say bring people in, like so you're looking for new valets, like what are sort of the things? Okay, so one of the things I hear in every episode I've done, and is you can teach service. Like you can teach somebody how to like open the door for somebody. You can teach somebody to like take the keys politely, to get in the car, not to scratch it, whatever. But the French will call it like a je ne sais quoi about hospitality, which is like your personal X factor here. We've kind of mentioned humility. Are there particular things you're looking for in the valets that you're hiring for, besides the fact that they have a driver's license and like they're overrated? You know what I mean? Like, as in, like, what are the things you look for inside of them that like you want them to be great for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely think there are some valets that we ran into. Maybe you could be one of them, but that would hit the ground running. And it's like the moment they touch base, they're
Yeah.
beasts, and they're just great. And there's other valets. I feel like myself, because I started valeting. I had a valet job when I was in college. This is younger, because when I did all this, I started the company. I was 27, 28, something like that. I valeted when I was 21, and I was not a good valet. In a sense, you could look at me as like a slow learner. Some of these guys come out the box and they're ready to go, and it's amazing. Then you just got to tweak a couple different things. Like I said, I look for athletes, because athletes that played in like competitive situations, like getting back on defense, is a congruent concept. Like you're playing basketball or you're playing soccer and then get a bucket, or there's a transition. You got to get back on defense. So you got to go park a car. You're by yourself, or maybe you're really busy. You got to get back to the front, because you don't want people to come into the lot and they're not be unattended. So you got to have hustle. You got to have that type of intensity to operate with. But so the two main aspects are being able to drive cars. So you get car enthusiasts are good to
Yeah.
have. Somebody's into
Yeah,
cars.
because they're into cars. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're into cars and you appreciate cars, and you could, oh my God, that's a such and such with I'm not one of those guys, but they know the
Yeah.
engine specs and all that. And oh my God, and they'll treat that car like gold. That's good. That's what you want. That's one aspect. Then you get somebody that's been in the hospitality business, like a server or a bartender or something like that, just for the fact that you know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to people, even if it's a shit show behind you and the parking lot's a complete mess. If you know how to talk somebody down, you can get by, and so being able to talk to people is good. And dealing with pressure and working alongside as a team. College athletes, getting back to the athlete thing, college athletes almost are automatically good valets, I find. Some people are good at parking cars and not good with people. Sometimes people are good with people and not good at parking cars, and sometimes they're good at both. And then you get the lot direction too, which is like knowing, I'm dealing with this person, but I see a car pulling in. I might have to pull this car up a little bit, and doing all those things in the moment, so things don't stuck, because you got everything to flow. I tell the valets it's like a symphony that we're conducting, and you got everything to go to rhythm. Things start getting backed up or stagnant, it could snowball real fast. So I don't know if that answered your question, but some people got it, some people need to learn it. And the key is that if you like valeting, if you're into it, because it's an adrenaline rush too. You get 20 cars at the same time, and you and your buddy got to figure it out, and you're under, and you get through it, and now it's like, wow, that felt good.
Yeah.
Guys like that, I know that they're hooked. They're going to be a good valet. All I need, as long as you care, I could work for you. I could work with you. You know what I'm saying? If I know that you care, about this, and that you care about being nice to people, I could pretty much shape you into a valet. I feel like I could work out the rest of the kinks. But those other attributes help. You're good with cars. You're good with people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like good with people comes in many shapes and sizes and forms. Like I feel like, like we are saying, like good with cars, table stakes. Like I mean, you need to know how to use a car. You know what I mean? Like, and it's the same. Like I feel like with waiters in a restaurant or like servers or whichever. It's like, you can teach them the floor of the restaurant and how to set the table, but how do you get them to read what's going on the table? How do you get them to communicate at the right time? Like those kind of things are like inherent but can be coached, and like that's the thing. And it's like I always like asking that question about what people look for in the staff that they hire, because it's very much like a true for some, relevant for all. Like everyone has like a different flavor of like how they approach kind of grooming and training and looking out for talent, and having an eye for talent within the organization, and that's something that like really like depends on the person. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I like doing the podcast, because I hear so many different versions of it. And the way like you're talking about like athletes and like stars, it's interesting. Like I haven't heard that like contextualized like that. I actually had somebody apply for an interview, like sent me a video and was like a college athlete, and I was like, oh, my immediate reaction was that person generally must be disciplined.
Yeah.
Like that person
It's
gets up
hard
at
to
6
get to
every
that
day.
level of
Totally.
That's
So
respectful right there. If you're a college athlete, I pretty much you're going to be a good valet in my world. But I'd be curious to hear the other people answers from your podcast, or to go back and listen to.
Oh yeah, there's got hundreds. This dude's like, you got 2 weeks worth of listening now. There's a lot. But I guess like I always like trying to like I in particular like speaking with you because it's like a unique story, and it's very much a unique success story. And I mean, like when you think about like scaling the operation, you're at 200 plus active sort of valets at the moment. I mean, it must be hard to like keep track of every single one of them. Like what do you think about the challenges of like scaling your growth, because you have so many accounts and you have so many people?
Yeah, you really got to nail down the formula of intermingling experience with new blood. You got to you're always trying to hire new guys, because these opportunities, they come and when it rains it pours too, because great business is great. When the phone rings, you want to pick it up and you want to say yes.
Yeah.
And then of course everybody wants to have these parties on the same day. Like there's like a few days out of the year where it's just like everybody wants to have a party. Like I remember one year it was May 20th, and it was laughable. It was laughable how many, oh, we need 20 valets here. Oh, we need 10 valets here. Oh, and it's like, oh, that's great. And then you're looking and it's like, so you always got to be expanding, and you always got to be pairing experienced valets with lesser experienced valets, rub off. And then you got to have a management team, like a supervision team, and then a management team. You have to break off into sections. You have to break off into manageable sections, because even what I do right now, I could not manage all of it by myself.
Totally.
It's just a bunch of little things that happen, and if I had to tend to each one of these little things, it would drive you insane. And so you get a couple managers that can shield you from most of the problems, and that's the best way to handle it. And honestly, you have to make sure that those guys are incentivized. And so having people that care, directly involved with the operation, on the lot, around and involved, is key. You got to have people that, because we're spread out, we're all over the place. It's not like we could stand in the office and I could see who's not working. We're spread across the map. So you need guys on the ground everywhere, and they got to be incentivized, and I do that with percentages in terms of the managers. So I try to
like equity, like
not equity, or more like profit share, more like a profit
sharing.
If you we're going to be on the same boat. If you know that you make more money by making us more profitable, and I make more money by being more profitable, now we're in the same boat. Let's be more profitable.
I'll send you the Red Robin episode we did, because they've started doing that model now for their stores.
Oh
or
wow.
they're starting to do it as a like to incentivize the stores to improve their standards. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like as in it's a new payment model for them.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry to interrupt. I do it with valets too at certain accounts that
Yeah,
do curbside sales. I think it's perfect. Like I'm like, there's an account that I go 50-50 with the valets, like there's the
yeah,
lot, everything you guys make. So we're automatically on the same page. They want to hustle. You want guys that will hustle. And
mm,
so that's it. And I don't check. I used to say this for like, this isn't like, I don't want you to treat this like a job. This isn't like an hourly. You're not working at Dick's or make $10
yeah.
an hour. I need you to hustle. I need you to run back because you'll make more money if you hustle. You could like last night, the job that I did at Peacock, I had
Yeah.
a hustle, but because I hustled, I made more money. If I wasn't a hustler,
Peacock being Peacock Gap,
the Peacock Inn,
or
uh,
Peacock Inn
Peacock Inn in Princeton.
in
Um,
Princeton. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, the CEO of our company went to Princeton. There's a fun fact.
Okay.
There's a little
Okay.
fun
Yeah.
little fact.
Yeah. This venue is the when Einstein came to America, the first 10 days that he stayed in America was at the Peacock Inn.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Google that.
I tell
But
people that all the
I
time.
don't mean to interrupt you as well when you were telling a real cool part of that story there.
Yeah.
Um,
No, yeah, no worries. But I also met Michelle Pfeiffer there.
the actress.
Yeah. Her daughter goes to Princeton.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's cool. I mean,
Michelle Pfeiffer there. I try to play it cool.
mm,
But I definitely seen her. I was right there.
yeah. Well, like there's Catwoman. Um, Dangerous Minds, great film also. Scarface. But yeah, so like you're saying, like like taking on that shift, you're looking for people who can hustle. So like that's something that you're actually looking for within the way you hire the valets as well. And so obviously you hire them as like hourly, correct? Or they obviously get a flat kind of fee to show up, obviously, and then they get the tips is what they're really there for. That's like how the model works, is it?
Yeah, it's a tip supported industry. It is
Yeah,
100% support. We do a lot of our staffing and charging how we, and I'll tell the clients, I said, listen, because if a client makes the lot valet only, or if it's valet is optional, is a huge difference. If it's valet only, it guarantees a certain amount of tips. It subsidizes the labor costs for the establishment and all that. We do both. We have hourly rates and we also have flat rates.
yeah,
I like flat rates normally, but we have some accounts that do hourly. We have so we do both. We do both.
yeah. It kind of depends. I mean, again, it goes back to like because the job is very like incentivized, looking for the people to work in it anyway. I guess like
And like
is it
and like
hard to
when
is it
you're
hard to find people to do it? Like is it hard to
uh
find valets?
no, because I feel like ballet is fun. And I have fun valeting, and I don't think I'm alone. And all you got to do is find people that are like you in that sense. And I found that there are many that get that like the rush of valet, that like parking the cars, that like meeting the people. And compared to other jobs, I feel like it's a fun workplace, and that gives us a huge advantage. Because if
Yeah,
valet wasn't as fun as it is, then I would have way more problems staffing. And I think there's a freedom about valet because you are outside the establishment, metaphorically and figuratively and actually. You're outside the establishment. We are not under the same surveillance as the in the house people.
yeah,
Not to say that we use that to cause havoc, but we have a little bit more freedoms. And I like to tell these guys, I'm results based. As long as everybody's happy, I'm probably gonna co-sign whatever you did, within reason. But yeah, and as far as like hourly and on the clock and stuff, like a lot of times, like when you returned your last car, you're done. I like that. I don't like having to depend on the clock. And some accounts are like that.
yeah.
Where you're on a shift and you have to stay here to a certain time, and then the next guy comes in. Okay, but other accounts are when the job's done, you're done, and I like that also. So
And so how do you find the people to come in? Like I said, you're at 200, so they can't all be your close friends.
Indeed, Indeed. We put ads out on Indeed. That's like, but then we do a lot of like friend to friend. Like if we have a good valet, like they normally, if we got a good kid, he's cut from the good cloth, and he's a good kid.
Yeah.
He usually has a good tree of branches. Like we've had some kids
Yeah.
that staffed whole divisions of our company just by their network of friend, a friend, a friend, a friend.
Yeah.
Like having friends out there because I like the valets to have an enjoyable time out there. If you're happy and you're joking around with your friend and you guys are both good and you care about the job, and now somebody comes into the parking lot and they see two valets that are smiling, looking like they're enjoying their time, it's a better atmosphere to come into, and you're going to get better service from those valets because they're in a good mood, they're happy, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. So that's a better setting for valets to operate from. I tell guys to be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Secret to life, I think,
yeah.
And one of the things I was going to ask you, because it's like, and I don't want to labor, like, obviously the incarceration point, but like one of the things I'm kind of fascinated with is like, because you're like, I suppose, quote unquote, like reformed. Is that how we would phrase like what you are, in the sense that like you are reformed to society? Like, do you look
What was that word?
to
Informed?
reformed, like
Reformed. Oh yeah,
I guess is that the
Well,
phrase?
listen. On that note, because I heard you say this before, in jail, right? And I learned a lot from jail, a lot
Yeah.
about myself, and there's a lot of smart people in jail.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that go to jail, and that's not the last time they're going to be there.
Yeah.
But then you go back to then their dad was the same way, and their mom, that's
Yeah.
a problem. When I went to jail, I decided that I was no longer a criminal.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not going to be a criminal anymore. It was a pretty easy decision for me. But
Totally.
I was raised in a different, I didn't have an excuse
Yeah.
to go to jail really. There was foolishness, but I did learn a lot and it turned around my life. So I kind of appreciate it.
Totally. What I mean by the question I was about to ask was more like, do you do anything with sort of the prison system to like give people coming out of prison like a chance, like to work in ballet, for example, or trying to parlay your experience into like an actionable thing for people coming out? Has that happened before? Or
Yeah, well, I'm
you know,
definitely not. Because I've been there, and I know that there's real people there that have just made missteps or for whatever reason. I don't demonize somebody just because they
yeah,
got incarcerated. I will give them a shot, based on their charge. Some charges would be off
yeah, like
the table,
yeah,
but I'm not. Listen, I'm about the character of the man, and if you come up to me and you look me in the eye and tell me that you want to do this and that you're going to put in the work, yeah, I'll give you a shot.
yeah,
It's sink or swim after that. I'll keep an eye. Keep an eye on you, and if you do good, I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest supporter. So yeah, there's a little bit of that in our company of guys that have been through rough patches and stuff like
that's awesome.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, because I was like, clearly, like, you've done so well kind of coming out of it. And, I can see the way I can hear and feel the way you talk about, like, say, what you look for, the people that work for you, and see a lot of yourself and a lot of the people that you try to hire, and it's like, the being able to give people an opportunity, because it feels like the job itself gave you an opportunity at the start, and it's like circle of life kind of thing, which is amazing. I mean, it's honestly, I'm proud that I'm speaking with you here. Like I'm like, this is honestly, you're one of the best success stories I've probably met in my entire life, let alone on this podcast.
You're gonna make me root for the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Well, no, I mean it, like, in the sense that, like, like, I met, like, I mean, I just moved from San Francisco. I spent the last 8 years there. I met a ton of people that have done exceedingly well in a lot of different things within tech. And now I only recently moved to New York. And again, you walk around New York City and everyone's kind of like amazing, and to hear like the challenge that you kind of put yourself into, by going to prison and then coming out the other side and being never turned around. It's like very like prototypically like the American dream. You know what I mean? Like, that you can pay your dues and you can make good and you can. I mean, the fact that there's 200 people over like that are like with like under your remit. You know what I mean? Like, there's 50, like more than 50 businesses, 50 accounts. I mean, you've done so well here. You know what I mean? It's awesome, and the way you're able to articulate like how you feel about it, how you can articulate about like the people that work for you, how you like articulate what you want from people. I mean, it's a testament to like your ability, and in software they use the phrase bounce back ability. How you bounce back from something, it's like that bounce back ability. And I mean, it's amazing. So like, It's funny because I was reading the email thread before we came on, and it's like, like, yeah, we're delighted to talk about ballet. You're like almost like surprised. It's like, no, I'm like delighted. I'm like curious about it. I'm always curious about what people's passions are, and it's amazing to like hear your story and hear you feel like so proud, because like I'm proud. Like I'm sitting here proud as the interviewer, and I'm the one doing the talking now. And
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I know, but on that note, I put my mom through a lot, and when I was, I was underperforming in life, I would say, and that wasn't easy for my mom, and whenever she talked to her friends, and her friends would be like, "Oh, how's Doug doing?" That would have been a tough question for her to answer.
Yeah.
So, making my mom proud was huge for me, and I know she's proud of me now, and she's been proud of me for some time, and to be able to give her that is so, like, if you can make your mom proud in life, you're good, no matter what you're doing.
I think about that myself. I'm very much out of sight, out of mind. But here, tell me, Doug, as like sort of the wrapping up question I kind of ask everyone, is like, what advice would you give somebody listening to this podcast? Now, bear in mind, I suppose I kind of explained a bit of the audience beforehand. A very open-ended question. Like, what's a bit of advice you give for like hospitality?
Hospitality.
Oh, you are in hospitality, so
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think I ask everybody to take the act of service is an opportunity to step outside our egos and be totally about the person that we're giving the service to, and I think that is a spiritual act, and I think that there's a lot of power, which not like power, but grace, and there's a lot of good energy that stems from that. No matter what you're going through in your life, if you're having a bad day, whatever, the parking lot for me was my escape from my personal problems, because it's not about me out here. I get into the service, and if I could put a smile on that person's face, the gratification that I get out of it is special. I think some people in hospitality, like they're servers and they smile in front of the people's face, and then when you see them in the way station, they're over there talking shit about the person or whatever. There's a lot of that goes on, but basically just tells me that they're miserable in their lives. And what I would like to say is, if you can if you can be genuine in your personal interactions, don't undermine them, because every person counts. Every person has a soul, and whether they're a douchebag or not, like you could treat them special. I over time, like me doing that and giving genuine hospitality to people, and it's not fake, it's real, come from my heart, and that is worked wonders for me in my success story. So that would be my advice. Don't fake the funk. Be heartfelt with the service that because you're in. Be great, be where you are, be great at try your best at whatever it is that you're doing. Even if hospitality is a stepping stone for you, you want to master being great at whatever it is that you're doing at that moment. And in hospitality, that is the act of giving service, which is spiritual and powerful, when you think of it, even though we work off tips. So I say it's like selfless acts of kindness, because it's not about the tip when I'm giving a service, although we do work for tips.
A man's got to eat,
Yeah, I will listen, never turn down money. If you want, you're a good person. This is another thing I tell people. If you're a good person, you're humble, you're modest, you do something nice for somebody because you're a nice person, and then they offer you money and you don't want to no. Listen, and this is what I tell those people. I understand why you're declining the money. I get it. You're a good guy or a good girl, okay? But what if I tell you this? It is better to give than to receive. And you are cutting this person off of the opportunity of giving, which is, in a reverse sense, giving you leverage in a disgusting way. Don't ever do it again. If somebody wants to give you money, graciously accept and affirm to the universe that you are worth accepting this gift.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, man, thanks for coming on.